before we begin, understand this: the moment you start growing, you start outgrowing people. The moment you choose peace over chaos, elevation over excuses, purpose over petty conversations, some people won't clap for you. They won't celebrate you. They won't say, "I'm proud of you." Why? Because the version of you that stayed small served them. The version of you that was always available, always saying yes, always giving more than you received, that version benefited them. So when you finally step back, when you finally choose you, when you finally say, "I'm done feeding what drains me," something happens. People start revealing who they always were. Today, I want to break down 5 key ways fake people react when you distance yourself, so you can recognize the patterns, protect your energy, and stay focused on your mission. When you start pulling back from someone who has been using you, the first thing they do is twist the narrative in their favor. They don't stop to ask themselves what they might have done to push you away. They don't sit in silence and face the uncomfortable truth that maybe their behavior finally caught up with them. No fake people never choose accountability, because accountability requires honesty, and honesty requires a level of maturity they've never practiced. So instead of looking inward, they point outward. Instead of acknowledging the ways they fell short, they paint themselves as the wounded one, the abandoned one, the one who did nothing wrong. And you'll hear it in the little comments they make. You'll hear them say they switched up, like your growth was betrayal. You'll hear they changed, as if staying stagnant was the goal. You'll hear they think they're too good now, because instead of matching your effort, they'd rather shame your elevation. They cling to these lines because it's easier to label you the problem than admit they played a role in the distance that formed. It's easier to accuse you of acting brand new than to confront the fact that they took advantage of a version of you who didn't know boundaries yet. But listen closely to what they don't say. They don't say, "I took them for granted," even though deep down they know they did. They don't say, "I never reciprocated," even though they were counting on your generosity and assuming it would last forever. They don't say, "I used them until they got tired," even though fatigue is exactly what pushed you to step back. They know these truths exist, but fake people hide from truth like it's poison, because if they speak that truth out loud, it forces them to look in the mirror, and the reflection would expose more than they're ready to face. You've seen this pattern before. Most of us have. Think back on that one friend who always came running to you with their heartbreaks, their drama, their emergencies, their frustrations. Morning or night, weekend or weekday, you were their shelter. You were their emotional toolbox. You held space for them every time their world fell apart. But when life hit you, when you were hurting, when you reached out, it vanished like they never existed. Messages left on read, calls ignored, excuses made. Suddenly they were busy. Suddenly they were overwhelmed. But funny enough, they weren't too overwhelmed when they needed something from you. And when you finally reached a breaking point and pull your energy back, did they come forward with an apology? Did they sit you down and say, "I know I haven't been there the way you've been there for me. I know I played a part in this distance"? No, they didn't. Instead, they acted confused, they acted offended, they acted like you betrayed them. They tried to make the shift your fault by saying you're acting different. They never said, "Thank you for everything you did." They never said, "You deserved more from me," because acknowledging that would mean admitting they lost someone valuable, and fake people would rather rewrite history than accept responsibility. Here's the truth. Fake people don't lose you, they lose control over you. And the moment you step back, the moment you stop being available on demand, the moment you say, "I'm done pouring into empty cups," something in them panics. They're not panicking because they miss you. They're panicking because they can no longer depend on you to clean up the messes they keep making. They're not upset that you're gone. They're upset that their access to your strength, your kindness, your time, your energy, your presence is no longer unlimited. People like this build a false sense of security around your generosity. They start believing your patience is endless. They start assuming your empathy is automatic. They start thinking you owe them a version of yourself you're no longer willing to sacrifice. So when you break that pattern, they feel powerless. And instead of reflecting, instead of growing, instead of saying, "Maybe I should have done better," they wrap themselves in victimhood because it's the most comfortable cushion they know. There's something psychological behind it too. When people depend on you emotionally, they develop an identity built around your support. They learn that whenever they're in crisis mode, you'll be their safe place. But when that safe place closes its doors, they feel exposed. And instead of asking, how did we get here? They ask, how could you? Because shifting the blame onto you allows them to avoid the internal work. It keeps their ego intact. It keeps them from confronting the truth that they didn't treat you with the same intentionality you offered them. This is why stepping back from fake people is one of the most powerful things you can do. It disrupts the entire dynamic. It forces them to face a reality they've been avoiding. And ironically, the moment you pull away is the moment their true nature appears. Some will sulk, some will gossip, some will lash out quietly, some will pretend nothing happened, but almost all of them will choose to paint themselves as victims because taking responsibility is a skill they've never learned. Think of the times you tried to help someone grow, but they weren't ready. You encouraged them to heal, to change, to step up, but they weren't willing. So when you walked away from that cycle, they didn't say, I wasn't ready to grow. They said, you gave up on me. And that right there is the essence of their narrative. Your boundaries become betrayal. Your growth becomes arrogance. Your peace becomes disrespect. But let me tell you something that will free you. You are not responsible for the stories people tell about you when they can no longer benefit from you. You are not responsible for the versions of you that live in someone else's head. You are not responsible for carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. When someone chooses to play the victim because you reclaim your power, understand that their reaction is not a reflection of your character. It's a reflection of their dependence, their entitlement, and their unwillingness to change. People reveal themselves when the benefits stop, and fake people reveal themselves fast. Because once you step back, once you take your strength with you, once you take your empathy with you, once you take the support they were leaning on, you force them to stand on their own feet. And the sad truth is they don't know how. So instead of learning, instead of evolving, they blame you. Because blaming you is easier than admitting they needed you more than they ever acknowledged. So when they gossip, let them. When they play the victim, let them. When they rewrite the story, let them. Because at the end of the day, the people who matter will see the truth. The people who understand you will know what really happened. And the people who were only connected to the version of you they could use, those people were never meant to stay. The distance doesn't make you the villain. It makes you honest. It makes you self-aware. It makes you finally realize that loving yourself sometimes means disappointing those who were comfortable taking you for granted. You didn't switch up, you leveled up. And not everyone is meant to follow you to the next chapter when you decide to step back from someone who has been draining you. The silence you create becomes louder than any argument you could have had. That silence becomes a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable, especially the ones who never plan to see their own reflection. And when fake people feel uncomfortable, they don't grow, they gossip, they don't reflect, they redirect. They don't look at their own behavior, they look for a way to shift the attention back onto you. The moment you stop feeding their ego, the moment you stop answering every message, the moment you stop showing up out of obligation, your name starts showing up in conversations you weren't invited to. You'll notice it first through subtle comments. Someone messages you saying, hey, I heard something about you. Or you walk into a room and feel the energy shift. Suddenly, people who never cared about your life before now have all the details. Fake details, made up details, exaggerated details. They'll start conversations with lines like, I don't know what happened, or someone told me they've been acting strange. These phrases aren't innocent. They're invitations for drama. They're bait for people who crave noise because they can't handle silence. But the truth behind all of this is simple. They're trying to damage what they can no longer reach. They're trying to stain a reputation they no longer benefit from. They're trying to dilute your character because they no longer have access to your energy, your support, your presence. The moment you removed yourself, you removed their ability to influence your narrative. So now they try to control the only thing they still can, the story they tell others about you. This isn't accidental, it's psychological. There's a term for it, protective self-image. When people feel rejected, instead of accepting that rejection or trying to understand it, they protect their own ego by tearing down the person who created the distance. They rebuild their pride by attacking yours. They try to make you look small because they feel small without you. It's their way of saying, if I can't have access to their greatness, I'll make everyone believe it wasn't greatness to begin with. Think about this in your own life. Think about the times you've distanced yourself from someone because the relationship, friendship, family, or romantic was no longer healthy. You weren't rude. You didn't create drama. You simply backed up. You created space. You chose peace. But instead of approaching you with a conversation, instead of asking you what changed, instead of owning up to their role in the disconnect, they took your name and handed it to the wrong ears. They built narratives, they exaggerated moments, they twisted details, they added their emotions into the stories until the stories became fiction. Maybe you had a friend who didn't like your new boundaries, so they told others. They've been acting different ever since they got that new job. Or maybe a family member who relied on you emotionally told people they don't care about their own family anymore. Or maybe someone you dated couldn't handle the breakup, so they told mutual friends, I heard they moved on already. Even if you were still healing, fake people create fiction when the truth makes them look bad. What's ironic is that gossip is never truly about you. It's about how they feel without you. It's about the hole you left behind. It's about the value you brought that they didn't appreciate until it was gone. When people talk behind your back after you distance yourself, they're not talking because you changed. They're talking because they didn't. Your growth highlighted their stagnation, and your silence highlighted their insecurity. And here's the part people don't understand. Silence is powerful. Silence exposes. Silence reveals. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop defending yourself, when you stop giving people access to your inner world, the ones with bad intentions panic. They start scrambling for control, and gossip becomes their weapon. But gossip is a weak weapon. It doesn't leave scars. It reveals weakness. It shows who they are, not who you are. Look at any successful person who elevated in life. At some point, their circle got smaller, and when that circle shrank, the noise around them grew. People who once clapped for them started whispering. People who once relied on them started resenting them, because distance not only tests relationships, it exposes them. The moment you rise, someone somewhere will try to pull you down to the level where they feel comfortable. And if they can't reach you physically, they'll try to reach your image. But let me give you something to hold on to. You don't have to fight lies when your life tells the truth. You don't have to correct stories when your actions expose the storytellers. You don't have to chase down rumors when your elevation outgrows the rooms where those rumors were born. People can talk, people can twist, people can invent, but they can't stop what's meant for you. They can't slow down your path. They can't interfere with your blessings. The only thing gossip ever destroys is the credibility of the one telling it. So if they start talking, let them talk. Let them build their stories like sandcastles, pretty, fragile, and guaranteed to fall apart when the tide comes in. Let them say what they want. Let them paint their version. Every lie they tell reveals the truth they're avoiding. You grew and they didn't. You evolved and they stayed the same. You moved forward and they stayed in the same place, recycling the same complaints, telling the same stories, building the same excuses. Your growth made them uncomfortable, but your distance made them exposed. And that exposure makes them desperate. Desperate people talk. Desperate people exaggerate. Desperate people try to distract others from the reality that losing you wasn't a coincidence. It was a consequence. And one day, the same voices that tried to tear you down will have no choice but to face the reality of your elevation. They will see that you didn't shrink when they spoke. You didn't fall apart when they gossiped. You didn't collapse under their narratives. Instead, you stayed focused. You stayed disciplined. You stayed grounded. You stayed in your lane, letting your character, your work, your peace, and your progress speak louder than any rumor ever could. Because in the end, growth has a sound too. It's just silent, and silence always wins. When you decide to distance yourself from people who have taken you for granted, something interesting happens. Their silence breaks. Suddenly, the same people who had no problem ignoring your messages, brushing off your needs, or disappearing when life got heavy, those same people start showing interest again. But not because they miss you. Fake people don't miss you. They miss the benefits. They miss the comfort of having someone they could lean on without offering anything back. They miss the convenience of your presence, your generosity, your patience, your emotional strength. They miss the money you loaned them, the time you wasted on them, the emotional labor you poured into them when they never refilled your cup, the access they had to your energy and your spirit. That access was their lifeline. And when you take it away, they don't feel your absence. They feel the absence of what you provided. That's why the moment you pull away, they try to reel you back in. But they don't come with accountability. They don't come with apologies. They come with manipulation. They come with guilt trips dressed as concern. They come with sweetness that tastes like poison if you look closely enough. They'll say things like, "You don't talk to me anymore," even though they were the ones who fell silent first. They'll say, "You've changed," as if that's a crime, as if growth is something to be ashamed of. They'll remind you of the tiny favors they did for you, as if those crumbs could outweigh the mountains you moved for them. They'll bring up memories of the good times, not because they cherish them, but because they hope those memories will soften you enough to walk back into the same cycle you fought so hard to escape. And they'll do it with a smile. They'll do it gently, pretending to care, asking how you are, checking in on your life. The sudden warmth in their voice isn't love, it's strategy. It's a calculated move to get you comfortable again. Because the moment you relax, the moment you let your guard down, the moment you start giving them access again, their old behavior snaps back into place like a trap closing around your ankle. Old patterns don't die in people who never wanted to change. They only rest when they lose access to you. Think about the real life example you've seen or lived through. Someone who ignored you for weeks, maybe months, no calls, no effort, no reciprocity. Then the moment you finally get tired and stop reaching out, your phone lights up with, "Hey stranger, why don't you hit me up anymore?" Not, "I'm sorry I disappeared." Not, "I realize I wasn't treating you right." Not, "Can we talk? I miss our connection." No. Instead, they frame it like you're the one who drifted away. They frame it like you're the one who abandoned them. That's not love. That's entitlement. That's someone who believed you'd always be there waiting, even while they offered nothing in return. They don't want you. They want what you do for them. They want the emotional cushion you provided. They want the steady reassurance you offered. They want the validation they got from being able to call you whenever they needed something. They want the resources you shared, your time, your insight, your loyalty. Every "where have you been" isn't concern. It's a reminder of the role they expect you to play. Every "don't forget about me" is an affection. It's a warning that they see you slipping away from their control. Fake people don't come back because they care. They come back because they lost access. And they'll guilt trip you in ways that pull at the softest parts of you. They'll say, "I thought we were close," even though the closeness was one-sided. They'll say, "You know I care about you," even though their actions never match those words. They'll claim they were going through something, conveniently forgetting that you were going through things too, with no support from them. They act like they're losing a friend, but what they're really losing is a resource. But here's the powerful part. When you start seeing the difference between love and dependency, between connection and convenience, between support and exploitation, something in you shifts. You stop responding out of guilt. You stop returning to situations that drained you. You stop letting people drag you back into cycles you outgrew. Real connection doesn't need guilt. Real love doesn't manipulate. Real relationships don't require you to sacrifice your mental health or self-worth just to keep them alive. Only fake connections do. Only imbalanced, one-sided, emotionally parasitic relationships need guilt to survive. They can't thrive in honesty. They can't survive in accountability. They crumble when you demand reciprocity. And that's why these people try so hard to guilt trip you, because your growth threatens their comfort. Your boundaries threaten their access. Your peace threatens their chaos. There's a reason you walked away. There's a reason you started creating space. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be distant. You got tired. You got drained. You realized you were giving the kind of love and support that nobody was giving back to you. And your spirit said enough. When they come knocking again, not out of love, but out of need, remember the truth. Temporary kindness doesn't erase repeated patterns. Nostalgia doesn't repair broken trust. Guilt is not a reason to go back to places that almost destroyed you. You are not responsible for maintaining someone's comfort at the cost of your own peace. You are not required to return to cycles that broke your spirit. You don't owe anyone access to you, especially not people who only value you when you're giving them what they want. You deserve relationships where love is chosen, not demanded, where effort is mutual, not forced, where you're valued for who you are, not what you provide. In the end, guilt is just a tool, and once you recognize it, once you see it clearly for what it is, it stops working. Their words stop affecting you. Their manipulation loses its power. Their sudden affection stops confusing you. Because real love doesn't ask you to shrink. Real connection doesn't ask you to sacrifice your peace. And anyone who has to guilt trip you to keep you close was never trying to grow with you. They were trying to keep you where they could use you. And you deserve better than that. When you finally create distance between yourself and someone who has been feeding off your energy, it's a shift you feel immediately. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's real. Because distance exposes motives in a way conversations never could. When you pull back, you start to see who was really there for you and who was just there for what you provided. And just as clearly, you start to see something else, the anger that rises in people who can no longer use you. It's a strange kind of anger too, not the kind that comes from love or worry or confusion. It's the anger of someone who just lost access to a resource they never expected to lose. When someone benefits from your presence, they stay close. When someone benefits from your absence, they stay distant. But when someone benefited from your effort, your kindness, your consistency, your availability, your distance becomes a threat to their comfort, a threat to the easy path they've been walking, a threat to the version of you they grew used to controlling. That's why fake people get angry when you step back. The reaction has nothing to do with missing you. It's because your distance removed their advantage. They don't feel abandoned. They feel exposed. They don't feel sad. They feel inconvenienced. And when convenience disappears, entitlement rises. You see it in little ways at first. The tone of their messages shifts. The warmth disappears. The jokes dry up. The passive-aggressive comments start slipping through. They can't say outright, "I'm mad I can't use you anymore," so they express it in different ways. They accuse you of changing. They accuse you of being distant. They accuse you of acting differently. All the while ignoring the fact that your change wasn't random. It was a reaction to their behavior. I've seen people get mad at someone simply for setting boundaries, not realizing boundaries were the only reason they tolerated them for so long. Boundaries are a form of honesty. They reveal the true strength of a relationship. The moment you say no, you see who was around you for the right reasons. But most importantly, you see who stayed around only because you always said yes. Think about the coworker who always needed your help. Every project, every deadline, every crisis, they came to you. They took advantage of your reliability because they knew your work ethic would save them. But the moment you say, "I can't today," suddenly you become the problem. Suddenly you're changing. You're not helpful anymore. You're being selfish. But what they really mean is, "You're not making my life easier now, and I don't like that." Their anger has nothing to do with teamwork and everything to do with exposure. Your no revealed the truth. They weren't appreciative, they were opportunistic. Or look at the friend who only calls you when they need something. When they're heartbroken, they call. When they're broke, they call. When they're lonely, they call. But the moment you stop picking up, the moment you stop rushing to help, the moment you stop solving the problems they created, their attitude changes. Suddenly they're cold. Suddenly they're distant. Suddenly they're offended. But were they ever calling to ask how you were doing? Were they ever showing up when you needed someone? Their anger is not disappointment, it's realization. Realization that they offered nothing while taking everything. People like this don't get angry because you pulled away. They get angry because they lost access to your energy. Your distance forces them to confront themselves. And confronting themselves means facing the truth they've been avoiding. They were never giving. They were only taking. They were never supporting. They were only receiving. They weren't valuing you. They were benefiting from you. And deep down they know it. That's why anger rises before accountability ever does. Accountability requires humility. Anger requires nothing, just entitlement and ego. So instead of saying, "I'm sorry I didn't treat you better," they say, "Why are you acting like this?" Instead of saying, "I realize I didn't give you much," they say, "You're making a big deal out of nothing." Instead of saying, "I depended on you more than I should have," they say, "You're being dramatic." But here's the truth. Your distance is not the cause of their anger. It's the mirror. It shows them exactly who they've been. And when someone doesn't like what they see, the easiest thing to do is blame the reflection. This is why so many people fear boundaries, because boundaries don't push good people away. They push fake people into the light. And when fake people are forced into the light, their reactions tell you everything you need to know. They lash out, not because you wronged them, but because you remove their comfort zone. They retaliate emotionally, not because they cared for you, but because they cared for what you did for them. And here's the part that hits the deepest. People who truly love you will respect your boundaries. They may ask questions, they may want clarity, but they won't get angry simply because you protected your peace. People who value you don't punish you for choosing yourself. People who love you don't resent your growth. People who care about you don't treat you like property. They're entitled to access. So when someone gets angry because you stop being available in the way they want it, understand that their anger is confession. They may not say it out loud, but the reaction tells the story. I wasn't here for you. I was here for what you could do for me. Every time someone reacts with anger to your boundaries, you're witnessing the truth they've been hiding. And that truth is simple. You were carrying a relationship they were only benefiting from. Your distance didn't break the connection. Your distance exposed it. And once something is exposed, once motives become visible, once behaviors are illuminated, you can never unsee it. Distance doesn't destroy real relationships. It only destroys the ones built on convenience. And any relationship that collapses because you stopped allowing yourself to be used was never a relationship to begin with. When you finally pull away from someone who never valued you the way they should have, you'll notice something almost predictable in how fake people respond. They move fast, faster than logic, faster than healing, faster than reality should allow. And they don't move fast because they're growing or reflecting or becoming better versions of themselves. No. Fake people move fast because they're scrambling. They're trying to fill a void they weren't prepared to feel. They're trying to replace something they never appreciated while they had it. This is one of the most common reactions you'll ever see. The moment they lose access to you, they try to replace you. Not slowly, not thoughtfully, immediately. They go hunting for new best friends, new favorites, new day ones, new people to laugh with, talk with, lean on, pretend with. But it's not because they truly value those new people. It's not because they found someone better. It's because they want to show you and themselves that they don't need you, that losing you didn't affect them, that your absence didn't shake their world the way it actually did. It's all performance. It's all an act designed to keep their ego intact, because accepting that they lost someone real, someone loyal, someone consistent, someone genuine, will force them to confront the truth they've been avoiding. They pushed away a person they should have held close. Watch how it plays out. The replacements never last. They never hit the same. They never carry the same authenticity, the same depth, the same loyalty, the same energy you brought. You can replace someone's presence, but you can't replicate their spirit. You can sit next to someone new, but you can't copy the peace someone genuine brings. Temporary people can mimic comfort, but they can't replace connection. That's why the people they run to always fade. The excitement fades, the conversations fade, the energy crashes, because temporary people find temporary people. It's like a cycle. They bounce from one shallow connection to the next, trying to fill a void that can only be filled by something real. And real doesn't come often. Real doesn't come cheap. Real doesn't come twice in the same form. You'll notice something else. Their replacements are loud online, loud in public, loud in the way they try to be seen. They go out more, they post more, they laugh louder than they actually feel. They pretend harder than they ever have, because the performance is meant to convince one person, you. They want you to see them surrounded by people and think they're better off. They want you to believe that your absence meant nothing. But deep down, where silence speaks the truth, they know the reality. They feel it. Every time someone new doesn't understand them the way you did, every time someone new doesn't care the way you cared, every time someone new flakes on them, disappoints them, or shows them a level of loyalty that barely scratches the surface of what you gave, they feel it when they realize these new people don't provide the stability you provided. They feel it when the laughter feels different. They feel it when the comfort isn't there. And moments like that stack up. Little reminders of what they lost. Little reminders of what they took for granted. Little reminders of who they pushed away. Your absence becomes a mirror. A mirror they didn't ask for, a mirror they didn't want, a mirror that reflects back a truth they can't avoid. The problem wasn't your presence, it was their behavior. The problem wasn't your worth, it was their inability to appreciate it. And when they look into that mirror long enough, they begin to realize something painful. They didn't replace you. They distracted themselves from you. There's a big difference. Replacement means finding something equal or better. Distraction means finding something to keep you from feeling the loss. And fake people are masters of distraction. They fill the space, but never the emptiness. They fill the room, but not their heart. One day, after the excitement fades, after the noise lowers, after the Instagram stories stop uploading and the group chats go quiet, they will sit with themselves and the truth will hit them harder than they expected. The person they needed most is the person they pushed away. The person who supported them the most is the person they didn't support back. The person who showed up is the person they failed to show up for. And that realization doesn't come with celebration. It comes with regret, deep regret, the kind that stays. The kind that doesn't disappear with new friends or new distractions. The kind that whispers in quiet moments, you had something rare and you lost it. But here's the part that matters most for you. Their attempt to replace you has nothing to do with your worth. It has everything to do with their inability to appreciate it. Your value doesn't decrease because someone else failed to recognize it. Your spirit doesn't dim because someone else prefers something temporary. Your heart doesn't lose its strength because someone else wasn't ready for it. You're not replaceable. You never were. What you gave wasn't just presence. It was intention. It was care. It was stability. It was authenticity. It was something they may never find again because people like you don't show up twice. So don't be bothered when they try to replace you. Don't take it personal. Don't question your value. Don't assume you lost anything. You didn't lose anything. Who they were, you never truly had. They were holding on to you for what you provided, not who you were. Let them run to replacements. Let them chase temporary people. Let them perform for the world. Let them pretend they're better off. Because behind the noise, behind the pride, behind the facade, reality is waiting. And reality has a way of reminding people exactly what they lost. Your absence is powerful. It teaches, it reveals, it exposes, and sometimes it heals you in ways someone's presence never could. When you distance yourself, you don't lose real people. You only lose those who were attached to the old, tired, unprotected version of you. Distance doesn't destroy relationships. It reveals them. Let it reveal. Let it expose. Let it clear the path. The more you grow, the more selective you must become. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your energy. Keep walking your path. Keep elevating. Keep becoming the version of yourself that demands respect, not through words, but through actions, discipline, and distance when necessary. Because the truth is simple. When you stop feeding fake people, they starve. When you stop giving your energy to the wrong people, your life starts to grow.